evening.
Mamma mia.
Well, we said we needed content for the extras on the DVD, so let's give them a pitch black video of us driving to the airport. So guys, we're wrapping up our trip here. At least your end of it. I'm heading home after I drop you off.
Yes.
Tell us about your stop back at the old stomping grounds, the old haunt, so to speak.
Oh, you mean yesterday at the place?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the sad part.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Let's give the folks something good.
I don't know, David. What did you do day one? I'm a blur.
Well, I mean, just overall, the whole trip was, like a family reunion. Having all of these people who you worked with almost 30 years ago, and they were more than just the staff, the crew members. They were family, and it was quite touching. And many interviews ended with tears from the cast members as they reminisced their great times they had at Spooky World.
I can verify that. I was sitting directly across from just about every single one of them. And there were a couple of incredibly emotional speeches from folks who just wish they could go back in time and still be in that. And I believe a couple of quotes were, if David reopened it, they would go back in a heartbeat for free, which I'm sure your checkbook would absolutely love to.
I wish I knew that then.
So Quinn, on the director's end, the creative mind's end, what did you think of the content this week?
What I would say is this: there's a lot of new material that can be brought into stuff that's already been edited about the early days of Spooky World, because we have a couple of people who were there, more than a couple of people who were there at the very beginning. And so we want to bring their voices in early so that later on they have veracity when they have more important things to say about why Spooky World, had to leave and so forth. So it's very exciting to have this new texture of this new local feeling, this authentic homespun Berliners who were there and who have no axe to grind with David or anyone. And I think that's going to add a lot of authentic patina to our film.
I believe that we got quite a few locals to lend their voice to aspects of the film that we didn't have yet.
Yes.
And that was of great importance to actually truly capture that period from 1991 to 98, including the Foxborough folks,
right,
all the way up to the early 2000s, which it's incredible, speaking with a few of them, how it went from 2,000 a night, and then after that up to about 12,000 a night.
Right.
I mean, talk about a spike. So we get into how the sentimentality of Berlin is of the utmost importance, but to know just how incredibly big that this Spooky World idea became,
yes,
we're going to be able to convey.
Right. The humble beginnings have always been important to me. It's why all of Act 1 is very sort of sweet and slow, and want to set the pace of the town, because as Spooky World heated up and got bigger and bigger, the pacing begins to increase. But you sort of lay that foundation in the first act, and I never felt like we had enough foundation that says, well, what was this place that, Spooky World? Because the town becomes very important later. You can't make them suddenly become important if they weren't important in the beginning, if they weren't introduced. And that's what this was all about for me, to get that sense of the town.
So sitting there, especially on day 3, which we'll work our way up to, to see just how important that David's boots on the ground mentality and trying to actually become a member of that community, which he was. He truly became a member of that community.
Yes.
Really moved me, because it just shows how much care and love that David put into this entire project and how much he truly cared about the people. David, when you saw a lot of these old blasts from the past come back, how did that make you feel? Because I think you have different optics now. Back in the day, you're trying to get that business up and running, and now you can actually sit back, stop and smell the roses, and look at the legacy you've created. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been away from it so long in retirement, and now coming out of mothballs here and being thrown into with a group who reminisced about all of their fun times, and you kind of forget the excitement level that it brought every day, not only to the guests but to the cast and crew. And so that was very warming, very tender to share those stories, listen to some of their own personal experiences. I mean, we've heard quite a few people who said, I had a girlfriend who I met in the graveyard, and now we've been married 20 years. And it's just, we've got kids, and we told them about Spooky World, and it's like, geez, it's just incredible to hear that kind of stuff. I proposed to my girlfriend for marriage on the trail, or many cast members, as you yourself heard, said it was the best job they've ever had in their life. And that's just, very warm and overwhelming to hear from these people.
Well, I do know of one of them who's a very, very important part of a major part of the story that recently came back into light. A lot of major Hollywood stars right now from this region are speaking fondly about going to Spooky World as a child.
Who else?
I believe John Krasinski.
Oh, that one. But
Yeah.
is there anyone else besides?
Let's see. We got Adam Green.
That's
Oh,
true.
and let me. I have to go back and check the footage on YouTube. I'm searching hashtag Spooky World every day, so trying to get as much of
You
that
got me
as
excited.
possible.
But we even had the celebrities. That was, a twist, because in later years, as Spooky World created the thought of horror celebrity signing autographs, were first out of the gate, and then, following up with the celebrities, they're saying, their first opportunity to sign autographs was at Spooky World, but it's been the best experience, never, the same. It was the first and the finest opportunity of meeting the horror fans. And, in the film, you have D. Wallace Stone saying that, you have Kane Hodder,
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, very much so, and Doug Bradley, who's Pinhead from Hellraiser, and they're all talking about, how great of an experience it was at Spooky World.
Well, I was on the other side of that rope getting their autograph, and to know that they share the same exact feeling I do about that old barn up in Berlin and everything that was created around it really means something, because that goes to show how friendly they were to the guests, because they enjoyed it so much because of the environments that you helped create, the people that you picked to work with you. And we had a chance to have a round table with many of those folks who worked with you back in the day. We had a very special round table on the end of day 2 that we hope to bring your way in the coming week or weeks. It was a great, I think it was a little over an hour long, of David and his old cast of characters just talking shop. And it was nothing better than being a wallflower that day. But that was actually at the very end of 2 very long days of interviews. Quint, tell me, could you share a couple of sound bites for us that you think people are going to want to listen to from those 2 days of interviews?
Oh my goodness. You're catching me at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning after 5 days of numbingly long hours. I would say that I don't know that I can right now point to it. I know that there are fabulous sound bites, but I would say that overall, with the locals who lived here, like Karen Chandler and Tim Wheeler, and were associated with the park peripherally, helping David in the early days, especially become established and forming bonds and friendships. I think that's all very important. And then later with some of the kids, people who were teenagers and kids, either working at Spooky World or going to Spooky World, almost all local. It's just going to enhance the authenticity of establishing the park. You know, Tim Wheeler said something interesting about David yesterday that you mentioned earlier, that, you know, putting down roots and hiring locally. Tim Wheeler said, you know, David was very kind, but he was also very shrewd. He knew that if he hired local and started putting down roots immediately and forming those bonds, that they would pay off later, that he would have loyalty. You know, he would have people in his corner, and in fact, that's the way it worked out. No, David was a traveling salesman when he started Spooky World, and he was very shrewd about business. But I think he disarmed everyone with his very natural charm, and you know, David likes people, and people know when they're with somebody who likes people, and they like being around people who like people, because they're the luckiest people in the world.
You know, you should write a song about that.
Yeah, you know, that would be a good song.
I don't know why anybody hasn't touched upon that.
That's all I have to say on this entire matter.
Are you going to get flagged for a copyright claim then?
Yeah.
So, day 3 was a wonderful experience. We actually, we're going to be talking a lot about the history of the barn at Spooky World. Danforth Tyler Farm was the owner of that for many years, and it's a historic piece of the Berlin history. And we were able to stop by and pay our respects to James Danforth Tyler. And we're going to bring you that in the film and show you the importance of what David did, bringing that barn back to a new chapter in the 90s. But then right after that, we went to see a very good friend of David, one Karen Chandler, who was more than hospitable to us. Wonderful wine, if I may say. Thank you very much for that. Opened her home to us. We sat down, had a wonderful conversation, all while customers were coming to pick out their Christmas trees early. They were tagging them to pick them up in the coming weeks. David, can you talk about what it was like seeing Karen again?
Oh, you know, Old Home Week. It was great to, you know, everybody became a fast friend in Berlin. And the Chandlers were a little slower process because they were very politically tied into the town. And so, you know, they kind of maybe wondered, what is this guy looking for? But they, you know, as they got to know me a little better, they realized that I was sincere in my efforts to shop local, preserve historically the restoration process at Spooky World of the 1800s, or actually 1700s barn. And so, you know, we were gradual friends, longer process with the Chandlers, but better friends who left. And she sincerely expressed how bad she felt the way the town, in particular one selectman, I don't want to mention any names, who tried to get us closed down and successfully did play politics against Spooky World. And, you know, as a result, the town, you know, although, you know, some of the former town officials on camera didn't want to admit what it meant for Spooky World to leave town, I can tell you that people who are not politically connected clearly said business dropped off at the package store, the gas station, the restaurants, the lumber yard, the economy of 400 payroll checks, and probably 80% of those checks generated to local residents disappeared. Although some did go to a new location in Foxborough, many, it was just, not convenient any longer to travel that distance. So economically, the police details, the fire details, the support of mercantile that was provided to the town disappeared. We were the largest employer of Berlin.
We had many people say that.
Yeah, so it it did impact the community.
Matter of fact, Deborah, the waitress, I guess you could call her waitress in the hotel. I talked to her for quite a while. She said, it's a very articulate woman. She said, yes, certainly the lumber yard and the liquor store and so forth really suffered. She said, but all the people who worked in Spooky World, all that money drifted into the town and was spent in every establishment. And so all of that dried up when Spooky World left. So it wasn't just the local merchants who benefited from the tourists, it's the people who worked here spending their money in town, the grocery store, and so forth. That money went away as well. And she articulated that very well.
The loss of, I'm going to guesstimate, maybe $1 million of our gross was spent in the town between 400 employees, the supplies, the taxes that we paid, all of the restaurants and
you think that's
services.
like $1 million per year?
Easily.
Per year?
Per year.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think that we
that
also
went away. That was taken out of the economy, and so when Tim Wheeler or Karen Chandler said, "Well, it didn't personally affect me," well,
I asked him directly. I said, because he said, every year I was a young father with a young family, and that extra money that I made driving a tractor and delivering hay was welcome cash, and I said, did you miss it in the following year? And he said, well, yeah, sure, yes. But by that time, I guess, by 98, he was probably doing much better, and maybe didn't feel it for a couple of years. But yeah, he did not want to admit directly that, it affected his bottom line. It certainly did, because he delivered hay and he got, but I was not at all disappointed with his interview, because I want that sort of, solid foundation, and he provided that, and so did Karen, and so did a couple of others.
I want to actually stress the importance here that, Berlin, what would you say the total population was, around 1,700?
Yeah, I would say initially between 1,800 and 2,200 during the entire time period. Yeah.
So we just spoke about the financial impact strictly on Berlin. What we discovered during this interview process is many of the people, it wasn't just a Berlin operation, this was a regional operation. It employed people from Hudson, Clinton, Northborough, Marlborough. Many of those folks showed up for these interviews and didn't just discuss the financial impact of Berlin. Losing Spooky World to that region was a financial impact that most businesses in surrounding towns had a difficult time recovering from. And that was mentioned in this. Because Berlin, I believe, had one restaurant, David?
There was a local restaurant called Danny's, and we would even, throughout the spring and summer, had a staff of 15 or 20 of us, and when one went out for lunch or a beer, there was 15 or 20 going out for a lunch and a beer. And so we went to Danny's every day and got the lunch of the day. And, the one gas station in town we frequented, and the local farm stand, operated by the Wheelers, by the way, We would get our fresh, fruits that were always on the kitchen table as various guests came in. They helped themselves to, and it's just a small aspect of it. Lumber that was delivered every couple of days to build each new haunt every year. The local insurance company in the town supplying us liability insurance. All of that, went to the new location. So yeah, there was an impact. We actually had the son of a police officer who said, my dad was able to pay for my college education because of his overtime at Spooky World.
Absolutely incredible. So while most people, especially nowadays, folks like to say shop local, you didn't just preach it, you actually practiced it.
From day one.
From day one, 30 years ago. So, putting a bow tie on all of this, what are your thoughts now that we're heading back to the airport, heading back to Hollywood, heading back to LA? As you edit this together, Gordon, did you get the pieces that you were looking for with the people that
Oh, yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches at this point. David will tell you, at the beginning of all of this, I was really out for the one interview, and that was Karen Chandler. Then you began to add all these wonderful, interesting people. And, initially, it was a really tough schedule. I think we netted out to be 7 interviews a day for the first 2 days. That easy time when you're getting ready, getting used to the time difference, and haven't slept in. So that part was lots of fun. But yeah, I couldn't sleep. The best night's sleep I got was last night. Every night up until last night, I was tossed and turned all night. So it became increasingly a challenge, let's say.
It was, but you rose to it.
We got through it, yeah, and we got some excellent material, So it's going to be very interesting putting some of that material into already edited segments, and it's certainly going to help us with the part of the movie where we start talking about when Spooky World had to leave. So I'm very pleased with everything, and thank you as our producer of this entire trip. You really, I don't even know what to call. Certainly you're the producer, but you wore many hats on this, including currently Uber driver.
I forgot to wear my limo cap today.
And you're producing your podcast as we speak. So I don't know. I think you're a pretty capable guy. Maybe we should just put your name over the title and get rid of Tom Savini, because
Tom's in better shape than me right now, and he's got about 30 years on me, but I'm not revealing his age because I don't want to get killed. Unless it's by special effects in a film. If you're listening, Tom, I'm more than happy to do that. But yeah, I'd also like to thank a couple other people in this during this journey, this past 4 days, which feel like 50. I'd like to thank our production assistant, Jamie DeChico.
She was great.
She was outstanding. We want to talk about a rising star. Go right ahead, Clint. Feel free.
You brought Jamie onto the production the first day, and it was great having her there. And she's a lovely young woman with a bright future.
Let's not forget Bill's our tag man.
Oh, Bill, yesterday was definitely yesterday's MVP. He rose to the occasion. It was in poor health. Got in his car, drove out, took me to the location. His moral support was very helpful.
Bill is a wonderful person.
Yeah, Bill's like my best friend in New England. Oh, next to you.
Oh, stop.
You guys run all I can say is the two of you guys. Without you guys here, this film would not be possible. And I'm going to put a disclaimer at the beginning saying that.
I know that Bill, his love, Bill, I don't think anybody loves Spooky World more than Bill Tacular.
There's a close rival, John Pelletier.
And we were lucky. Talk about a last-minute interview. We were incredibly fortunate to be able to get John Pelletier.
And the love between those two men, Bill and John, they truly are brothers.
That, and you'll see that, folks, not only in the film, but when we bring you that round table too. There was this bittersweet moment during that whole interview process where it's like you're talking about an old friend that's no longer with you, and you'll be able to see that when we bring it to you. But David, as you head back to Hollywood, what are your closing thoughts?
I was really hoping to bump up to first class. That's on my mind right now. What are my thoughts going back to Los Angeles? Well, it's a victory. We're going back victorious.
Yeah.
We just played in the Super Bowl. We just finished the World Series, and we're carrying the trophy back to Hollywood, where it will be promptly displayed in the editing room.
Where it will be melted down and forged into brand new material.
Exactly. And so we already had the secret sauce, and now this is the cherry on top, what we're bringing back to the editing room. We're very close to completion. We will have a finished movie December 30th. We will be showing that movie in March. We will be out worldwide, so we're very excited about that. And all now the attention is on the editing and then post-production.
Well, I do know that Quinn and Gail, hi Gail, hope to see you soon too, head out to the West Coast. But I know that Quinn and Gail have their hands full in the coming months putting this story together. And I couldn't think of more capable hands of people whose creative vision and incredible work ethic to have this film be put together.
Well, I'll tell you about Gail. She told me that since I've been away for 6 days, that she's been able to get more work done on the film in the writing department, because Gail is wearing a couple of hats on this. But she is one of the unsung heroes. But she will emerge a superstar with a handful of us as somebody who got this film across the finish line. And she's doing a fabulous job. I wish you guys could see all the work that's going in behind the scenes that she's doing. But you will see all that.
I believe you had mentioned before that this is very much like Tom Sawyer with getting the whole neighborhood to paint that fence. And I do know that Gail has got a lot of paint on her right now.
We all do.
We all do. We all do.
but Dave is the original Tom Sawyer of this project.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do want to actually mention the good folks that we had mentioned earlier at the Fairfield Inn in Sudbury, Massachusetts. We wanted to wait until the end to tell you folks where we were, because I had a feeling that people would just be crashing this to try to get interviews in, when meanwhile there's not enough hours in the day to get this done to begin with. So for everybody, we want to keep that enthusiasm, keep sending the emails in to spookyworlddoc@gmail.com. There's always a place for your voice and your story leading up to this film.
Put yourself on tape, put yourself on camera, have somebody film you, film yourself in a selfie, whatever it is. If you've got a story that you think belongs in this movie, you're running out of time, so get it done.
So this is being recorded today. What's the date? The 25th
of October.
Today is October 25th. Today we're going to be putting up a post on Facebook. I'm going to share it on our other social media sites, but Facebook post will be the home for it. We want you to attach any short video of your memories. If you have photos, if this has brought up the ability for you to get into that storage facility that you've been putting off for 10 years, get in there, dig up those photos. If you have VHS tape, send it in, please. We want it all. We want all of your memories. This is a time capsule piece that we want you to view every Halloween because, as I said before, this is the It's a Wonderful Life of Halloween. And we want your memories to be shared in it, and we will give you credit.
Yeah, you want to be in those end credits as having supplied material to this film, and it will be a time capsule that will outlast all of us. It will be the official Spooky World record. And you don't want to be left out. You don't want to be sitting at home watching that movie and say, gee, I have better footage in that drawer right there next to the TV set. It doesn't do us any good by that time.
Exactly. That will not age well after this comes out. You'll always have a place in history, but we want you to share it on a grander level, worldwide, so to speak. On top of that, folks, the timing's of the essence. Try to get it to us now. Take a half a day to do it. Our friend Carrie, who worked at Spooky World, just sent us photos on Messenger showing them going through their storage facility yesterday, getting up old stuff. So that's awesome. It's inspiring everyone. And just like back in the day in Berlin, it took a community to build it. Foxborough, it took a community to build it. The community now with social media is worldwide. We have a place for everybody all around the world that has a piece of Spooky World in their heart to put it. Send it to us on Facebook on the post we're going to put up today. So it's still raining. It's going to rain all day, but I'll tell you, it sure as hell is sunny in the Spooky World production team. So for me, Anthony Landry, Quinn, you have any closing comments?
See you in the movies.
And the genius that brought us Spooky World, David Bertolino, what do you have to say to the folks out there?
I thank my Boston / Berlin, Hudson, Marlboro friends. Thank you so much for welcoming us so nicely to this visit.
And thank you for joining us on this unedited driving episode of Spooky 101 for the Oscar-worthy film Spooky World, the movie, coming your way next year. See you at the movies.
Spooktacular.
Good evening.